His arrival heralded a new kind of leadership, described by some as the people's pope.
Fratelli e sorelle, buonasera.
Willing to welcome those who'd felt shunned by the Catholic Church, winning him global adoration, but also huge criticism from conservatives within, leaving questions about the lasting impact of his legacy. Born Jorge Mario Bergoglio in 1936, he was raised in Buenos Aires, studying to become a scientist before then following his religious calling. In 1969, ordained as a Jesuit, almost 20 years later, becoming Archbishop of Buenos Aires. It was in 2013 that he was chosen. An unexpected candidate for some, but a pope of firsts. The first Latin American pontiff, the first Jesuit, the first to choose the name Francis, and the way he accepted the role set the tone.
We toasted him, the Cardinal Secretary of State toasted him, and then he toasted us, and he simply said, "May God forgive you," which brought the house down.
His sense of humour and humility immediately stood out, turning down the more ostentatious papal dress and the traditional apartments for a more modest residence.
Francis was not shy at all. I mean, he would always say funny things, crack a joke. Yeah? He would also risk to say things that people in the first moment would be feeling as an insult. But then when you looked at his cheeky face, then they would also laugh.
Spiritual leader of 1.4 billion Catholics, symbolic figurehead on the world stage.
I think we haven't get to waiting. I think we haven't run through the presidency.
Pope Francis was never more comfortable than in the company of the poor. An outspoken champion of the deprived, a defender of those fleeing war and hunger.
Let us treat others with the same passion and compassion with which we want to be treated. Let us seek for others the same possibilities which we seek for ourselves.
His progressive stance was also reflected in his views on the environment, delivering a landmark report declaring the climate crisis a moral issue.
We must side with the victims of environmental and climate injustice, working to put an end to the senseless war against our common home.
But it was his acceptance of the LGBTQ community that was unprecedented, starting with this unexpected remark to reporters about gay clergy.
If a person is gay and seeks God and has goodwill, who am I to judge them?
Followed by a declaration that homosexuality was not a crime, part of his mission to make the Catholic Church more welcoming.
He was great in building relations and in risking to be provocative to people. So he will remain in our memories a pope challenging people to live like Christ.
For the first time in 6 centuries, he took over from a living pope. It was his new tone and efforts to reform that would set him on a collision course with his critics for going too far.
Pope Francis did go to war with the traditionalist side of the church, and it could be argued it wasn't entirely a wise battle in some respects. There was controversy with a lot of Pope Francis's reforms, and maybe he himself would have liked to go further, but listened to those opposing the reforms and so reined himself in a little bit.
Yet others felt he didn't go far enough. A declaration allowing clerical blessings for same-sex couples was diluted. He later signed a declaration reiterating the Vatican's staunch opposition to gender reassignment, surrogacy, abortion and euthanasia. His own liberal credentials were also questioned after multiple reports that he used a homophobic slur behind closed doors. Claims of abuse within the Catholic Church, both in the past and the present, were a constant shadow for Pope Francis. On a visit to Ireland in 2018, he apologised.
Il fallimento delle autorità ecclesiastiche.
The failure of ecclesiastical authorities, bishops, religious superiors, priests and others, adequately to address these repugnant crimes has rightly given rise to outrage and remains a source of pain and shame for the Catholic community.
But continued to face anger for not holding known abusers to account.
Pope Francis found himself with this terrible legacy of clerical sex abuse, kind of endemic really throughout the Catholic Church, and especially the fallout from the historical sex abuse. And he really did institute reforms to try and deal with this. But some of his own appointments were criticised, some of his own actions were seen to be too slow.
Occasionally, his tolerant persona gave way to his temper, sparked by pain from illness or here, the overexcited crowd. And yet, as he crisscrossed the world, he won admiration from other like-minded, more liberal individuals. Especially for his commitment to interfaith dialogue, leading to a landmark agreement between the Catholic Church and Islamic faiths, and an unprecedented visit to Iraq. In his final years, poor health meant more hospital stays and events cancelled. But even when sick, Pope Francis wanted to show the Church was more open than before, inviting 200 comedians for a special audience, appointing the first woman to head up a Vatican department. On the 14th of February, he was admitted to hospital. An infection leading to double pneumonia would leave him with difficulties breathing, moving and speaking. But as he returned home to rest, there were still moments where he would surprise the crowds.
A tutti.
Those around him making every effort to allow him to connect with his congregation. And spend time with visiting dignitaries like King Charles and Queen Camilla.
Hello.
And US Vice President
So good to see you.
J.D. Vance. A meeting with inmates at Rome's main prison on Thursday, probably more indicative of the legacy that he wanted to leave. His final appearance on Easter Sunday was a blessing for pilgrims who'd come to see him.
Cari fratelli e sorelle, buona Pasqua.
Despite his human approach, the clash between the traditional and the liberal remained his greatest challenge. A reformer who tried, not always successfully, to bring the church into the modern world.